So, Rudy, are the four teams who you thought the four teams were going to be going into the weekend?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think I was about 50% or so in my picks. But I mean, look, this is a really good weekend of football. A great weekend of football, especially that Bucs Saints game. I thought was a great game.
Go ahead, Manish.
I think of that game, and you think of Drew Brees, and that's one thing I want to talk about in reference to him. And if he does move in, Rudy, what did Drew Brees, as far as quarterbacking, running that team, mean to you from afar? And what is it they're going to miss if he doesn't come back?
Well, that's really I could probably talk for hours and hours and hours probably on just Drew Brees and him as a football player. One of the fortunate things for me is as a player, I was able to play for a coach named Greg Olson, who's now the offensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. And he was a coach that was around Drew Brees a lot in college. And because he coached him in college during my time in Tampa, even though he was a divisional opponent and a rival for us, we spent a lot of time studying Drew Brees. And for our quarterback room in Tampa, at one point in time, we had two rookies and a second-year player on the roster. And actually, the two rookies were older than the second-year player. So because of that, we spent a lot of time studying a veteran like Drew Brees. He showed us a lot of practice tape on Drew Brees. He showed us a lot of game tape on Drew Brees. We watched a lot of Drew Brees' pregame routine and pregame warm-up and how he went through the pregame mechanics. I mean, he just wanted to teach us everything, from a Drew Brees standpoint, because he was such number one, a good player, a great teammate, but really a great professional. And so I think from a professional standpoint, Drew Brees is one of the all-time guys, really good on the field, really good off the field, is a guy that has made, financially, he's been solid. Off the field, he's been solid. In endorsements, he's been solid. And what he's done in the community as far as raising money, some of the things he did, post-Hurricane Katrina have all been awesome. And then, as a player, he's the epitome for guys like me who don't have a lot of great physical traits, guys who aren't 6'5" and can throw the ball 80 yards in the air, or who aren't like Kyler Murray or Michael Vick and lightning fast, right? He's a guy that showed guys like me you can make it in the NFL. You can go far in this game by making good decisions, by throwing with good accuracy, by playing on time, by being able to throw with good anticipation, by being mentally and physically tough, right? And then just being you don't have to be, Lamar Jackson or Mike Vick, but you just got to be athletic enough to move around and make plays and use your feet and make those off-schedule throws when needed. And Drew Brees has really been, the epitome of what it is to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL and been a great player. Unfortunately, for a guy like Drew Brees, because he lacks those physical traits. I mean, at some point in time when you lose, that arm talent or that arm strength, or you just get older in general, it makes it very hard to compete because you don't have some of those physical traits to fall back on, like a incredibly strong arm or something of that nature.
And Rudy, to that point, for Sean Payton being his head coach / offensive coordinator, how much do you credit Sean Payton with working with a guy like a Drew Brees and incorporating that system? Because like Tom Brady, the parts were interchangeable for many, many years with Brady and with Brees to the same effect. How much do you give credit for Sean Payton's consistency on offense with him?
Well, I think it's super important, and like I've said on this show a bunch of times, it's one of the unfortunate things about college football and the NFL right now is that teams make changes so often at coaching positions, and it makes it incredibly difficult for quarterbacks to really get comfortable, in a system. It takes a long time for that to happen to where you really understand that system like the back of your hand. But then it's a whole nother level when you can understand that system at the back of your hand and execute that system, every single play, every single week. But it then, you can really take off as a team when the coach and the player are both executing at a high level and working at a high level and understanding each other at a high level. When Sean Payton's able to, call plays that he knows that Drew Brees loves in certain situations against certain coverages, or he's able to dial up certain play actions, that he knows Drew Brees loves. He's able to understand. I mean, Dan, there's some throws that, I don't know, like I prefer throwing a dig route than I do a curl route.
Sure.
I don't know why. I just like doing it better. And I guess there are some coaches out there who want to fight you on that and say, oh, just run the plays that I call. But then you got guys like Sean Payton who care more about calling the plays that he knows that Drew Brees likes. And so it also feels great as a quarterback when you can get, into the red zone, or you get sudden change plays, or when those shot plays are going to come up, and you don't even have to look at the coach, or you don't even have to do anything. You just know this is the situation. This is where the ball is. It was a sudden change turnover, and I know this is a shot play we're taking. Me and Coach don't even have to talk. We've been working on this all week long, and I think that's really where Drew Brees and Sean Payton got. And Drew Brees was a good player. He was a good player in San Diego, but he became a great player, and he became a Hall of Fame player in New Orleans with Sean Payton. And I think Drew would tell you that Sean Payton and obviously the general manager, executive team, and the ownership group of the New Orleans Saints really changed the trajectory of his career. And I think he would give those guys a lot of credit for it.
Rudy Carpenter joining us here on Fox Sports 910. Rudy, in the NFC, it's the veterans, the old guard of the NFL. We flip it to the AFC, and you've got this youth movement going on. And with Josh Allen, I wanted to get your thoughts on where the biggest improvement is, because if you look at him from a statistical standpoint, this is a guy that completed 52% of his passes his rookie year, just 58% last year. This year, it's up to 69. He threw for 4,500 yards. 37 touchdowns and just 10 touchdowns, or 10 interceptions, I should say, which is just one more than what he had last year. What's the biggest improvement we've seen from Josh Allen over the course of the last 2 years that has led this Bills team to a AFC championship game appearance?
Well, I think you listed them all. He's making better decisions. He's more accurate. He's throwing the ball with better anticipation. He's not turning the ball over, right? All of those things matter, but also I think that's a normal trajectory for some of these quarterbacks. You look at, I don't want to rub people the wrong way, but look at a guy like Josh Rosen. He didn't get that. I mean, how do we know that Josh Rosen wasn't going to turn out to be Josh Allen? He just didn't get the time. And I think people, they don't like that because they want to judge it so early based on what a player did in his first or his second year. But the Buffalo Bills had a plan. They had a plan with Josh Allen for the most part. Okay, they drafted him. They brought him in. Brandon Beane has done a good job since he's been there. Sean McDermott has done a good job since he's been there. Brian Dable has done a good job since he's been there. And they've been able to bring players in. They were able to bring in guys like Cole Beasley to really help Josh Allen. They were able to bring in Stephon Diggs to really help Josh Allen. They were able to draft a guy like Zach Moss, who's been able to come in and be a good back for them. They were able to find a guy late in the draft, maybe he's an undrafted free agent in Singletary, who's been able to help them. They've been able to get free agent guys on the offensive line who've been able to come in and help them. Then you got a defensive coach in Sean McDermott who's done a great job building that defense. And so I know I'm beating a dead horse, and I'm on this show every week talking about it. Every single sports organization, for some reason or another, thinks that they're just going to go find that one player. They're going to go find that once-in-a-lifetime Michael Jordan or that once-in-a-lifetime Tom Brady's going to come in there and just turn the organization upside down on its head and win a bunch of games. But, to me, in all actuality, it's the organization from top to bottom, and that's what's helped Josh Allen the most. The ownership group, the general manager, the coaching staff, and then what they've been able to do building that team. It's all of those reasons why Josh Allen has been able to make the transformation that he's been able to make. It's continuity within the offense. It's adding new pieces to the offense, and it's just time, practice reps, and games to allow Josh Allen to get better, to make those mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and then become the player that he is right now. And now for Josh Allen, taking the next step isn't just going to be what he does in the playoffs this year. It's going to be being able to maintain that consistent level of play that he's been able to do this year.
It's an interesting thought. Josh Rosen, as a matter of fact, was more accurate than Josh Allen in his rookie year. They had very similar yards. The touchdown to interception ratio is about the same. It's off by just one. It's a pretty interesting thought, as a matter of fact. But before we get you out of here, I want to get your thoughts on Lamar Jackson, who has grown in different areas as well. What does he still need to improve on to try to get over this hump? Because there's always going to be a moment where you have to throw your team to victory, not necessarily run it. What can he improve on most?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. You said it right there. Look, Lamar Jackson has also, been a beneficiary of an organization that has a plan and that has been smart and that has built an offensive scheme around what he does really well. And they've also drafted players and brought in free agents that are really going to help him. Look, in this last game, it didn't help that Ronnie Stanley has been out for most of the year. They're all-pro, perennial, Pro Bowl type player, Ronnie Stanley at left tackle, probably a Hall of Fame guy if he's, on his trajectory. Losing a guy like that early in the season didn't help Lamar Jackson. But you said it. The Baltimore Ravens are one of the most difficult teams to play against, to defend against when the game is tied or when the game is close and when they can still run the football. But the Baltimore Ravens, as everybody knows, it's like playing, a triple option team, an old Georgia Tech team or a Navy or an Air Force team or something like that. Look, Lamar Jackson really struggles right now throwing the football. He does a good job throwing the football when it's early in the game and the defense has to play a ton of single high coverage and get a bunch of guys down in the box to defend the run, and he can play action pass and throw against single high coverage and one-on-one matchups. When Lamar Jackson really struggles is when he has to throw against, some zone defenses and they're giving him, really complicated looks, or they're dropping 8 guys into coverage. That's when you rely on, precision passing and accuracy and timing and anticipation, not just, making a play fake and throwing a ball to, a guy like Hollywood Brown on a deep over who's facing one-on-one coverage. So right now it's just, Lamar has to get better at being able to throw to win. And right now that's just not where he's at. And that's really been the knock on Lamar Jackson since he was coming out of high school. Coming out of college. So I don't really know how he's going to fix that. I don't really know how they're going to address that with him because I just don't know if it's natural for him, and I don't really know how you can script, those types of situations for him to get better. And like me and Dan, I just don't know if going out there in shorts and a T-shirt and just repping a bunch of mechanics is going to really make all the difference for Lamar at this point in time. So to me, it's just going to be about that organization figuring out a way to stay ahead in ball games and play really good defense and keep every game close to where they can stay within the scheme that they want to run schematically.
Rudy, great stuff as always, buddy. Appreciate the time. Thank you.